What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Eric Plays Anime. Today we are going to be doing something quite a bit different from our normal content. Today, as you can see, we have a car and we are outside. Today I'm going to show you guys how to check the fluids in your vehicle if you have one, because I feel as a mechanic a lot of people don't know how to do that, and it's a very important skill to have. So today, this is a 2002 Honda Accord EX edition. Basically just means I have fabric seats in there. But I have popped the hood already. It's just a little lever inside the car. And there is a little lever in here that if you find and pull, you can open up the hood, revealing the engine. There's a little latch that if you pick up the latch, you can see there's a hole up there to put said latch. Hang on, let me put down the camera for a second. Now, as you can see, I have the latch in there. Here's an engine. I'm actually going to pause this and go get a flashlight so you guys can see things better. Alright, so the lighting still might not be the best, but I will do my best. And yeah, so on this car, there is a 4-cylinder engine. As you can see, each of these translates to 1 cylinder because 1 spark plug per cylinder. Now, there are cars with more than 4 cylinders and sometimes even more than 1 spark plug per cylinder. But this car is not one of those examples. Now, there are many different kinds of fluids, and there are many different things you need to take care of the fluids. But let us start with the most simple of fluids. We have the washer fluid. As you can see, it is identified by the windshield spraying water. Now, you just pop it open, and not all cars have this, but this specific car happens to have a dipstick. Now, this is pretty irrelevant. What you want to do is get your bottle of washer fluid. I personally have de-icer as it is winter. And then you push down on the top, get it open. Now, this fluid is probably the most unimportant for accuracy. Just, try and get it in there. But if you spill, don't worry, it's not going to do any harm. It's just water mixed with a little something else and some dye to color it. Now, I obviously didn't have enough to fill it, but you are perfectly fine to fill this fluid all the way to the top. It will not cause any harm. You'll just have more washer fluid for a longer span of time. Next up on the list, and make sure to cover it back up. If you have a dipstick, put it back in. If you don't, just cover it. Next up, we'll go to coolant, which is this one right here. Sometimes it'll be a different kind of tank with a pressurized cap. It might look something like this or something a little bit different. Read the warnings, heed the warnings. You should be able to tell the level without opening it. If you can't tell the level without opening it, just be really, really careful. Don't do it when it's hot, like it says. The warnings or the fill lines are usually for cold temperatures. So if it's cold and the engine hasn't been running, that's when you're looking at. But as you can see on this, there is a minimum line down here, and there is a full line up here. This car happens to be full of coolant, it is at the full line, so it is not a problem. I did just drive, so it's a little bit warm, so it might be a little bit more full than when it's not warm. Next up on the list, we will check our power steering fluid, which is this one. Now, most cars nowadays, like the newer cars, don't actually have a power steering fluid reservoir, because a lot of cars nowadays have electronic power steering, which works a lot differently. But as you can see here, just like before, there is a lower level line and an upper level line. As you can see, our power steering fluid is above the upper level. Now, especially on Hondas, it is very, very important to read what it says. It says, notice, use only Honda genuine power steering fluid. Power steering fluid is one of the things that Honda, Acura, the brands owned by Honda, will cause problems if you do not use their genuine fluid. Coolant, they also make genuine coolant, and then down there's transmission fluid. They make genuine transmission fluid too. Make sure that you use the right stuff, because it can be a major problem if you don't. Next up, we will move on to brake fluid. You can see it in the back there. This is almost universally where brake fluid is on cars. It's in the back attached to something called, I think it might be called like the brake drum or servo, something or other. Anyway, here we have the brake fluid reservoir cap and then the reservoir itself. Now, typically, it can be a little bit hard to see the fill lines, but as you can see, this is the fill line up here, and then the minimum line is down here at this middle portion. This right here is the fill line. Our brake fluid is a little bit below the fill line on this car, and that is generally okay, because as your brakes wear and you use them and they wear down over time, your brake fluid will be taking up more space in the brake lines. So there will be less fluid in the compartment. That is completely normal. Some people will choose to fill it up. I personally wouldn't, unless your brakes are good, brand new, and it's really low. Then I would add some. In the event that you are adding some, once again, be very careful, because all brake caps will tell you what kind of fluid to use. As you can see right here, it says use only .3 or .4 brake fluid. You can see it up there. Now, I don't believe that a brand particularly matters, although if you have a favorite, use it. But definitely make sure to read the labels before you buy your fluids, because sometimes it can be wrong. Next up, we're going to do the most common fluid in the car, which is oil. Everyone gets their oil changed. At least they should. Another one where a lot of cars will show you what kind you need on the cap. Now, just to make this a bit easier to see, I'll take this cap off. As you can see, it says API-SJ SAE 5W20. This is what you're looking at mostly. 5W20 represents the type of oil you want to use. SAE is the Society of Automotive Engineers. They determine a lot of things, and one thing that can be determined by the oil you have in your car is whether it's full synthetic or synthetic blend. On cars owned by General Motors, such as such as Chevys, sometimes Buicks, Cadillacs, stuff like that, They might have something on their caps that says Dexos, and it'll say 5W30. The Dexos means full synthetic oil. So when you buy your oil, make sure it says full synthetic. Now, I do not know if my car will need some oil, but right here, I have some 5W20, SAE 5W20, just like it says on the cap. This happens to be some full synthetic oil. You do not have to use full synthetic oil. I just happen to have some. And this right here, this dipstick right here, is the engine oil dipstick. A lot of times on cars, this will be either yellow, orange, or red. And if the car you're working on has a transmission dipstick like this car does down here, it will be a different color. Like, for an example, this car's dipstick for transmission fluid is yellow, and its oil dipstick is orange. You might not be able to tell that with the light, but that is how it is. And we are going to check our engine oil. I'm going to try and set this tripod up to where you can see what I am doing. Okay, well, the dipstick is right down here. What you will need to do this is some sort of tissue or napkin or paper towel or something, and then you just grab a hold of the dipstick, pull it up, and then the first thing you do is wipe it clean. Wipe any oil or residue off of it. Now, as you see, there are these two dots down at the bottom of the dipstick. These dots will show you your safe, low, and full ranges for your oil. Below this bottom dot is low, add oil. In the middle is safe. You should probably, if it's low in the middle, add a little bit. But if it's high, leave it. If it's above the top dot, you're over full and might want to think about draining a little bit if you are capable of that. But currently, oh God, I knocked over the tripod with my arms. I'm too big. Anyway, now we pull the dipstick out after wiping it clean. And as you can see, I don't know if it'll pick it up well, but our engine oil happens to be right about here. Hold on. Come on, focus. I'm trying to teach people. Anyway, our engine oil is right about here, right below the full dot. You can see a little bit in the light where the tip of my finger is. So our engine oil is good. So I do not need to add any engine oil. I would personally recommend that you check your engine oil every week or two. The more often you check your engine oil and routinely get it changed, the better the life of your car will be. Now, this transmission fluid dipstick over here is a bit of a different one. A lot of the times they will be down low. A lot of times they'll be over here, but this specific make and model of car, it is a bit reversed. A lot of times the transmission will be on the driver's side of the car, and the... Shut up, I'm making a video. That's an example of a bad car. The belts and stuff will be on this side, the passenger side of the car. Sometimes cars are different. Sometimes they have what's called an unserviceable transmission where you can't check it or anything like that. So just watch out for your car, check what it needs, stuff like that. But as you can see, there's the dipstick down here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it. Now, the thing with transmission fluid is, one second, on almost all cars, it should be checked while the engine is hot. Sometimes they have what is called like a hot section, which will be a good crosshatch up here that's for hot, and then they'll have a cold one down lower on the stick. This one just has a crosshatch, and it's an example of one you check when it is hot. So what I'm gonna do is get transmission fluid all over my phone. Great. Then I'm gonna set up the tripod so that you guys can see me as I check the transmission fluid of my... This car is not mine, it's technically my mother's, but I drive it more, so I call it mine. Now, transmission fluid, just like when you check your oil, you want to take a napkin or whatever, wipe it off the first time you pull it out. Make sure there's nothing on the dipstick so that it's clean and your reading will be as accurate as possible. You see I cleared out the cross hatches there, so it's all good to go. Now back over here, down low, there's the dipstick hole. I'm going to put it back in and then pull it out. Then we're going to come over here to the camera and show that it is within the safe crosshatches marks. Now this is because I have done my transmission fluid change on this vehicle. And you can see it's like one crosshatch below, but my car is also not very hot right now. So that will translate into the fluid not reading high enough or at the proper level. Now those happen to be all of the fluids for this particular vehicle. One more thing I will show you guys that is very important to check regularly is your air filter, the engine air filter, which is what is in this compartment here. So when you have an engine air filter cover, a lot of times they have these little clips here. Sometimes they'll have little bolts such as this that are holding it in like the corners, but as you can see, this one is nice and simple. It's just held together by 4 clips. So we're gonna unclip all 4 of these metal clips here. Then this becomes loose and you can move it. Then you lift up the canister. Then here you'll see your air filter. Sometimes they look like this, sometimes they're a little less bulky, but as you can see, it's a little dirty. I actually would replace this. I do not have one to replace it today, but when I do get one, I will make another video on replacing it. Some places might not do this at this stage. Some places might say it's good. For the most part, it depends on personal preference. I prefer to keep my car in good condition, so I will be doing that soon. Here we have, now we got to put it back, and just the same way it came out with the dirty side facing down, put it back in. Then make sure to reclip all 4 of the metal clips, and then once you have done that, you have successfully checked the fluids and air filter of your car. I would show you how to do the cabin air filter. However, on this car, it is very difficult to get to. One more thing I wanted to show you guys is that hood hook thing that I was talking about here. When the hood was popped, you could feel around and you felt this. You push it up, and then it moves this out of that little hood latch there. And then you can lift the hood up because there's no longer anything holding the hood down. That's just how to pop a hood. Sometimes on like Ford Escapes and stuff, it'll be over here in a little yellow thing, or sometimes it'll be over here on like Ford Fusions, but for the most part, it'll be right here on either side. You can push it up, down, left, right. Sometimes it'll be like under a grill and you have to pull it towards you. All depends on the car, the make, the model, and stuff like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe even found it useful. I will try to make some more car related videos so that more people know how to take care of their car and will not have any further issues, and can hopefully try to avoid being scammed out of stuff at dealerships and shops, because as a mechanic, that stuff infuriates me. I hate when shops and stuff are dishonest. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy. If this video helped you out, don't feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I will be making more content similar to this in the near future. Thank you guys once again. Bye.